Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. Today we're talking about Trump laughing and Kamala crying. This is episode 431 of the Council of Future Conflicts, and my name is Scott, the proprietor of the Future Conflict channel. Today, it's Friday, so odds and ends will look pretty normal, but we're gonna try to keep it light and not too kind of serious with the election stuff. We'll be talking basically two sections, right? We'll be talking Trump stuff, and then we'll be talking Kamala stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, I, I'm still worried, but I'm the positive version of me is winning with all the stuff that I'm saying. I know the risk to getting my hopes up, but still, I can't help it, guys.
Okay. Yeah. Looks pretty
Well, I
good.
mean, yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. I'm in the same boat. It looks hopeful, right?
Well, Joe, here's the thing, Joe, you've got to be hopeful and happy because you are in Montana.
Hey, I know I'm going to be good, but I think that I'm a little bit more of a realist because the folks in power see their grip weakening, and they see all this hope and good luck for Donald Trump and momentum.
Yeah.
So, what are they willing to do? Interestingly, they started warning us last night of a Carrington level event, solar storm that might take down the internet for several weeks. Weird. Just the internet. Not
I,
anything else, but just the internet for several weeks. What
you,
happens in
you,
several weeks?
here's my question, Joe: Is are the weather control people going to come out and say that the government is now controlling the sun, the space weather coming out of the sun? Is there they shooting some sort of a uranium missile into the sun that's causing this?
You know what's funny is that Lafayette Lee, our friend Lafayette Lee, posted a few weeks ago that, listen, guys, I don't know who needs to hear this, but it's actually God that controls the weather. So I replied and said, so you are saying it was a Jew? So
Yeah,
what?
yeah. They
Point of
turned
order.
they used the space letter laser on the sun.
So for the record, it's speaking of Montana, I am wearing the Mountain Partisan shirt. That the best part of it is on the back where it says, "Do not fear the mountains, fear those who defend them." And boy, that's true.
Very good, very good. Watcher, how you doing today, brother?
Doing good, doing good. Busy, busy. Excited to get into a another fun show.
We've got member chat from Stormy, member for 25 months. You know, where is it? Where are the rest of you guys? Come on, join Stormy, become a member of the channel. Stormy says, good morning, you amazing humans. Happy Friday. Hit that like button and subscribe both here and on Rumble. I truly appreciate y'all. And we appreciate you too, Stormy. Stormy is one of our intrepid mods that helps us out. She can't be here all the time, but she makes an impact when she's here. So we thank Stormy and all of our other mods for all you guys do. Thank you so much. Guys, I will say, when it comes to the political stuff, I do like saying the jokes, right? Like, whether it's Trump doing his roast that he did on that at that what is it, the Al Smith dinner. That was pretty funny, and there's been some legitimate jokes from comedians going after the left, which is interesting, right? I always think it's interesting when it's like somebody finally sends out a memo that says you can start making fun of Kamala Harris or or Obama or Biden, right? It's like, and you've seen that here in the last couple months, a little more, I think. It's Joe when the ridiculousness becomes so high. It's kind of nice to see people making fun of these politicians.
The best part of that whole thing is that thumbnail and the look on Chucky's face,
Oh yeah.
uh,
Could you
his
bring the
his smug
thumbnail
anger. Right?
up?
He's not happy that Donald Trump's standing there right next to him, and I mean, I've never seen the Penguin so mad.
If you haven't seen this entire thing, it's worth watching. Jim Gaffigan's legitimately funny. He busts on both sides, both on Trump and the Harris Biden administration. And the funny thing, do you remember that response that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer did during the Trump thing, the Trump administration, and we made fun of it at the time. There was a lot of memes going around with them like next to each other with these kind of like weird looks. He had that exact same look on his face when he was standing there next to Nancy Pelosi. So maybe he just gets that way when he's next to people that he doesn't like.
Maybe it's just because he's a dick. If you haven't given yourself this treat, I recommend, excuse me, getting the audio version of Wendigo Works not Wendigo Works of Wrath of the Wendigo by free ad there, Jim. So anyway, Wrath of the Wendigo by Clay Martin, and in it, Terry Shepard mocks Schumer's voice, and it's just absolutely fantastic. So.
Let's see. Peter Shay's helicopter tour says, I thought Gaffigan had terminal TDS. Now, you were talking about that before the show, Watcher. Do you want to give the backstory on his kind of, I won't say he's come around, but he's definitely changed his tune, a little bit.
Yeah, there was an interesting Joe Rogan segment where Joe walks him through J6, I guess. It's pretty long, though. It's like 7 minutes long.
Yeah, we can't watch it here, but bottom line is Joe Rogan basically broke him out of his echo chamber that he was living in.
It seems like that might have been the start of something. He certainly was. It's not like he woke up on the show and was like, oh my gosh, but he was a little bit like, I'm going to have to look into that.
Well, I feel like he's been more equal opportunity ever since then, right?
Could be. Yeah.
I mean, and that's all. When it comes to comedians, I just want you to kind of balls and strikes, right? I don't want, you don't have to be for my guy or, or against, the other people. You just have to make fun of everybody equally.
That's what comedy used to be, right? But we've gotten so far from that comedy's not even funny anymore for the most part.
Well, and Donald Trump used to go on SNL at least once a season almost. There's like about 5 or 6 different sketches out there where that are pretty damn classic Trump. Now that was before he became president, but still, people are always better when they don't take themselves too seriously.
Yeah, like the Trump fried chicken commercial from long
right,
ago.
That's so good.
It was classic.
Well, and he was on the WWE, and so he's
that was back when the left loved him before they decided to hate him.
Oh, that's right. Well, but the funny thing is there's like pictures here of Trump and Schumer talking, and they're laughing, and it's almost like the Democrats really don't mean it when they say Trump is like Hitler. It's almost like they're lying to you. But we'll talk more about that later in the show. Anything else, guys, we need to bring to the attention of the chat before we jump into the odds and ends?
There's enough people who haven't seen the Trump fried chicken commercial that maybe we should have that as our end of the day today.
I would be okay with that. Maybe we throw that at the end of the Trump segment. So Watcher, just keep that one in mind there.
Cock-a-doodle-doo, folks.
I also have to say that the gold MAGA hats aren't it for me. Can I just say that? Did you guys see the gold MAGA hat that Elon was wearing during his town hall?
I like the black on black ones. Those ones are pretty good.
I thought that one was good. He was
though.
like, because that's what he was wearing during the what was it, the event with Trump in Pennsylvania, but.
Well, I heard that's what the right-wing death squads will all be wearing. So,
well, I mean, if you're gonna wear a death squad, a black hat might tip people off too much. That's not what you call camouflage, right, Joe?
Right.
UCO Steve for $2 says, "Do not fear the bayou, fear the gator that will dispose of your body."
This is true. See, up here in the mountains, though, we don't have to drag you out to the bayou. We just wait for the bear to come along and eat you, and it sort of works itself out relatively quickly.
Yeah, what's really telling, guys, that literally I'm just kind of scrolling through um my Twitter feed here, X feed, and literally 50 to 60% of my posts are about Trump at that dinner. Like everybody is sharing clips of it. Whether people are angry, yeah, it's really interesting that how much people are talking about this. All right, guys, let's jump into our first.
I found it. I found it already. By the way, I've got.
Oh,
yeah.
All right, just plug that sucker in, and we'll show the chat later when we need a break. All right, first thing up today. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but I guess somebody in the Pentagon decided that they're tired of Yemen making us look stupid. So they send in the B-2 bomber, and it sounds like the 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrator to drop bombs on Yemen. Apparently they targeted several underground weapons storage facilities. And well, I guess it was pretty effective. So let's get into this. Pentagon is stating that the B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, along with other U.S. forces, conducted a strike on Houthi underground weapons storage sites in Yemen. This is the first operational strike mission for the Spirit in years, and the first into Yemen. It sends a very specific and powerful message that only the B-2 can to the Houthis' benefactor, Iran. It also occurred on what appears to be the precipice of an unprecedented Israeli retaliation strike. As to why the B-2 was used against Houthis, who have only rudimentary air defenses, we will address that in a moment. But it was by design a very ominous and potentially historic act that might have featured the first use of an incredibly rare weapon.
Hold on, who wrote this? Who wrote this?
This is Tyler Rogoway, the editor of the Warzone.
That's what I thought. So I find it weird that he would actually be like, "Oh, how dare we use an advanced weapon against the poor desert people?"
Well, I think that's how he's drawing the conclusion that it's actually a message not to the Houthis, but more to Iran.
It just comes off as weird to me. How dare you bomb the sand people into oblivion?
Yeah, well, that's true.
The Tuscan Raiders needed it, so
they deserved it. They did. It's factual.
And then we've got the Pentagon statement here, and that's pretty much the. Let's see. It says here, U.S. forces targeted several Houthi underground facilities housing various weapons components of types of Houthis have been used to target civilian and military vessels throughout the region. This was a unique demonstration of the United States' ability to target facilities that our adversaries seek to keep out of reach. No matter how deeply buried underground, hardened, or fortified, the employment of the B-2 stealth bomber demonstrate U.S. global strike capabilities to take action against these targets when necessary, anytime, anywhere. One of the things I've thought about doing is taking press releases from DoD and start putting them into the AI detector to see if they were written by AI. I mean,
well, apparently, in order to strike this Houthi underground facility, the pilot had to hit a 2-meter square circle, and it was just like hitting ramps down in Beggar's Canyon. So
back home, yeah.
It says, so continuing on with Tyler's story, part of the story here, it says the DoD's description of the targets is very important. Hardened underground weapon storage locations, followed by declaring the United States' ability to target these facilities that our adversaries seek to keep out of reach, no matter how deeply buried underground, hardened, or fortified. This directly highlights the B-2's ability to carry out the unique penetrating GBU-57 Moab, the massive ordnance penetrator, better known as I'm sorry, not the Moab, but the MOP, MOP. Yeah, this thing is freaking huge. I think it's 30,000 pounds. It's a 30,000 pound bomb. Yeah, 30,000. Yeah, weighing 30,000 pounds can only be carried by the B-2. Two can be lugged aloft by each stealth bomber. And here's a video of it dropping them. It takes a minute for it to get going, but you literally see the airplane rise once they drop these two bombs out of the weapons bays. And look how thick those suckers are. Those are not small.
I like them thick. There it is.
You see how it just like magically starts to lift. It's almost like it got rid of a lot of weight.
Crazy.
And then so these are designed to dig down about 60 feet into the ground and then explode. So you'll see there you go. There's the explosion comes out of the hole. So the whole point of these things is to go after underground facilities. Now, remember, okay, so yeah, can an underground facility be deeper than 60 feet? Sure, it can. But you're not going after the whole thing. You're just going after the part that's close to the ground, right? I mean, if you bury the tunnel that leads to this bunker, you've pretty much closed it off, especially if it's got weapons and vehicles and things like that in it. So it goes here. The MOP is able to penetrate deeper than any other conventional bomb on Earth. It is specifically designed and has been repeatedly upgraded to go after deep buried, high-value targets, especially those in Iran. So, I mean, that's his point.
No punches. Just put it on the screen. Don't need to read it. Just put it on the screen.
Oh, my God. I mean, is he wrong?
And it got everywhere. Everywhere.
It's a war crime.
Did you hear she's losing weight? Evidently, my young daughter showed me something on.
No, you know why I didn't hear it? Because I don't care.
I have a young daughter who seems to be interested in that kind of stuff. She's like, how can somebody still look fat after they've lost a bunch of weight?
Because she was really, really fat. Now she's just really fat.
Just really fat. Exactly right. All right. Anyway, he goes in more in detail about this. Both, the TWZ, God love them, they get really into the weapons and the capabilities and all that kind of stuff. Bottom line is that while the Houthis are a nuisance, I guess, they've been doing a pretty good job of defeating the United States Navy in the Red Sea. Ultimately, they are not what you'd call a super capable enemy. Whereas Iran, Joe, I mean, it makes sense that this would be a message to Iran, right?
You would think. It's pretty hardcore. It's meant to let them know that those underground bunker things they have in the mountains aren't so secure. But I don't think that Iran thinks we're ever going to attack them. They are a little bit worried about the Israelis, though.
Yeah, this is right. And the fact is if you're in the position of backing the Israelis up, not with, like, say, radar and bunker support, but with B-2s and actually dropping bombs on Iran, essentially we're declaring war on Iran if we do that. And so I don't think anybody is under the illusions that we would take part in this.
If you want to talk about a threat to Iran, what they should be afraid of. Yesterday, when we were moving this stuff from our storage units over here, Allison found one of my bow staffs, and she got out and she actually started spinning it around. Iran better look out. That woman is pretty darn good with a bow staff. So.
The sad thing is when the person with the bow staff becomes a threat to themselves.
Listen, people that I train on a bow staff are not a threat to themselves. I'll just put that out there.
I'm just saying it's happened more than once.
And then for the rest of you aspiring martial artists out there, the key to a bow staff is hexagonal. That's the kind you want because it hurts more. Anyway, move on.
All right, guys. So I think this is one of those kind of eve of destruction kind of stories. I feel like we're getting ready to see the other shoe drop with the Israeli response on Iran any day now. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I thought it was going to happen last weekend, and it didn't. I mean, it's just that's the next thing to happen, right? And I think this just kind of hints towards it, and we'll see what happens from here. Any other thoughts on this, guys?
Uh, yeah. Rest in piss, terrorists. That's about it.
Well, we've got dead terrorists on the menu here later in the odds
Hooray.
and ends, I think. Yeah. Well, that's number 3. That's number 3 on this. But before then, we've got some movement in the North Korea front. South Korean intelligence says North has sent troops to aid Russia's war in Ukraine. This is something we heard about originally last week, and there were some claims that like 6 North Korean were killed in the Donbass area by Ukraine. How they know that, I'm not sure. Maybe they got intelligence sources or whatnot. But the story is definitely growing. South Korea spy agency said Friday that North Korea has dispatched troops to support Russia's war against Ukraine. It confirmed the move would bring a third country into the war and intensify a standoff between North Korea and the West. Guys, I don't know how you intensify a standoff that's been going on, for the last, 70 years now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I do know that the South Koreans fired some shots back across the border the other day when those explosions went off with absolutely no warning. So
Yeah, there were some warning shots that were fired. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, having seen all that stuff in the past, yeah, it's more heightened. The tensions are more heightened now than they have been in the past couple years. But ultimately, it doesn't compare to
funny
anything
thing
like what we
about
saw.
warning shots is that the bullet doesn't know that it's a warning shot. So
I know, but I think they were fired into areas where they couldn't hurt anything, like i.e. the ocean.
the warning shots from the troops in the DMZ,
Oh,
they're not in the ocean, bro.
that's right. You're talking about the machine gun fire that was,
Yeah,
yeah, but that happens pretty frequently, actually. And it's definitely happened a lot more in the last 6 months, I will say. Like what the North Koreans will send their troops into the DMZ for like brush clearing and things like that, and the South will warning shot them. So
For those asking about Stan in the chat, I just saw him Monday. He's been kind of globe trotting on a deal we're working on, so he'll be back. Just not today.
He's indicated that he may make an appearance in the near future. So he's welcome anytime.
Yeah, I stopped in and saw him on Monday because I hadn't seen him in a while. So it's kind of cool to be able to do that now.
I thought about this because this was like a potential 4th story for the odds and ends, but I decided not to because I'll be honest with you, I don't put a whole lot of stock into what Zelensky says in general. I don't feel he has a whole lot of.
If the dude
leverage.
is relying on us to pay his paychecks for his troops, he doesn't have the money to go nuclear.
Exactly right. It's exactly right. All right, go back to the story. The South Korean announcement came a day after Vladimir Zelensky said his government has intelligence and 10,000 troops from North Korea being prepped to join Russian forces fighting in his country. The National Intelligence Service said in a statement that Russian Navy ships transferred 1,500 North Korean special operations forces to the Russian port city of Vladivostok on October 8th to October 13th. Said more North Korean troops expected to be sent to Russia soon. North Korea soldiers deployed to Russia have been given Russian military uniforms, weapons, and forged identification documents, the NIS said. It said that they are currently staying at military bases in Vladivostok and other Russian sites in the east, and that they would likely be deployed to battlegrounds after completing their adaptation training. Joe, I'll be honest with you. If I were a I hate America country, it would absolutely make sense to, get training in this ongoing conflict, right? And we may lose a couple hundred soldiers, but a country like North Korea is like, who cares, right? If they're able to get some of that knowledge transfer and bring it back to their people.
Yes.
Okay. And
Well, I mean, was there a question there?
it wasn't a
'Cause-
question.
Yeah,
That's a
I know.
statement,
I
and I'm
didn't hear a
passing it to
question.
Joe to make his own statement. There's no question. This is what's called a discussion, gentlemen.
Okay.
Go ahead, Watcher. Carry on.
No,
Am I having mic problems?
You have been having some mic problems.
You have been
It's
all
been
day,
it's
so.
been intermittent.
What is it? Is it cutting out or what?
No, it gets weird and foggy and goes wah wah wah.
It's gay. I mean that's the truth of the matter.
Well, I mean, until he said this and Captain Corgi said this, I didn't know. So,
Yeah. Well, the deal is that I often wonder what sometimes, because I know that it's more of a connect. It sounds like a connection issue. I
okay.
worry that telling you there's not much use because it's going to come back when it comes back.
Yeah,
gotcha.
it's pretty much going to do its own thing.
Anyway, gentlemen, North Korea is sending its soldiers to fight in Russia to train its people.
Straight mercenary deal. They want some money. It's pretty simple.
I think it's partial money, but I also think they want to get some, real experience.
Is this?
No, they get plenty of experience oppressing their citizens.
In what way is this that different from them sending basically slave labor to go work for pay? To be clear, pay sent explicitly back to North Korea directly, not to the individuals doing the working, all over the world, which they've been doing for 30 years. It's a combat position because I think that probably a lot of the guys working in factories have probably similar mortality rates to what these guys are going to see.
Well, what's interesting is if they're able to confirm, like South Korea is the one that has very good intel with North Korea, right? And so, if South Korea is to be believed here in their reporting, it's not like, oh, well, they're sending a division of infantry soldiers to Russia, right? It's that they're sending special operators, and North Korea has a very large special purpose unit kind of population in their military. And they learned a lot of asymmetric techniques during, from the enemies that we were up against during the global war on terrorism. I just wonder if now isn't an opportunity for them to also learn new techniques that are being developed.
Yeah, that's actually a good point because their special operations unit is called the Light Infantry Training Guidance Bureau, and there are 100,000 guys in it.
It's pretty big.
It is a big unit and a lot going on. The North Koreans have a big unit. That's not what I heard. But anyway,
I've never heard that before.
Never heard that one before. But they do specialize in those kind of things. So that's a good point, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, it's Russia. I think Russia just wants to not take casualties. They want to get gains without taking casualties. They'll take manpower wherever they can get it. So, I mean, from that aspect, this makes sense for Russia. But I'm just trying to kind of okay, yeah, there's probably a hard currency deal because we've also saw this North Koreans sending rockets as well. So. I mean, they're
never discount the hard currency thing because the Light Infantry Training Guidance Bureau has been sent all over the world very quietly to train people in subterranean combat and subterranean construction for decades as a source of income for North Korea.
Yeah. Well, and let's be honest. I mean, if North Korea were to have 5,000 less mouths to feed going into the winter. That's not a terrible thing for them.
Yeah.
All right. Kind of going back to the story here. It says, let's see, South Korean media citing the NIS. NIS stands for, the National Intelligence Service. reported that North Korea has decided to dispatch a total of 12,000 troops formed into 4 brigades to Russia. The NIS said it could not confirm the reports. The NIS has a mixed record of finding developments in North Korea, one of the world's most secretive countries. It confirmed the move with, excuse me, if confirmed, the move would be North Korea's first major participation in a foreign war. North Korea has 1.2 million troops, one of the largest standing militaries in the world, but it hasn't fought a large-scale conflict since the 1953's Korean War. Asked about the NIS findings, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said, "At this moment, our official position, we cannot confirm any of the reports that North Koreans are actively now as soldiers engaged in the war effort." That Mark Rutte guy, I got issues with that dude. So yeah, I mean, the story goes on. Interesting, these developments. We will see if anything pans out. But there's been reports already kind of coming out, and so Watcher, the next link, real quick, is an X post that purports to show
the video. I was already showing him, but
yeah, I just wanted to give some context. So this purports to show North Korean troops in eastern Russia training at a military training area. I mean, you can't see them, but I did think that I could hear some vague Korean shouts in the background when I was listening to it. So it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, and I expect we'll see more leaks of this kind of stuff as they continue to do this training and potentially deploy to Ukraine. All right. Anything else on this, guys?
As hard as it is for Koreans to make themselves understood in English, imagine a Korean accent in Russian. Yani понимаете.
안녕하세요. All right. All right. Anyway, so let's move on to our next story here. Netanyahu promises more war, dashing peace hopes after Hamas leaders killed. You know, I also saw another headline that said basically that Hamas said that, oh, even though you've killed our leader, it's going to get worse. We're going to escalate against you. Joe, I don't know if they got the... Aren't most of Hamas dead at this point?
It does feel kind of Black Knight-ish. 'Tis but a flesh wound.
Exactly right.
Well, what's funny is that ironically, every time Netanyahu says anything about the war, it's instantly evil. And every time Hamas says something about it, it's automatically assumed to be virtuous. It's a very weird thing, a very odd flip-flop. Granted, Netanyahu's not exactly on my Christmas card list, but he's not necessarily the bad guy in this, right? It's crazy.
I mean, everything Netanyahu is doing, he thinks is absolutely in the best interest of Israel, right? And in the best interest of Israel in the long term. So he's assuming that, he's not damaging, long-term relations with other countries, i.e. Jordan, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt. He's kind of, and the people who he is pissing off, Syria, Iran, some of the populations in Iraq, he doesn't care, right? He sees them as potential enemies. So it's kind of like, fear us is kind of his message.
What's funny is the world expects him to bend to European sensibilities. And he's like, I got to worry about my people and their survival. Sorry.
Right. This is a Middle Eastern democracy is what it is. It's not a European democracy. So you can't expect, anyway. All right, let's get into the story here. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promises to press on with Israel's war in Gaza and Lebanon, dashed hopes on Friday that killing of Hamas leader Yahya. How do you say his name? Do you have any idea?
Don't care.
YAH. Yahya Sinwar might help end the more than a year escalated conflict in the Middle East. Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, meanwhile, vowed to escalate fighting against Israel and its backer Iran, said the spirit of resistance would be strength. The spirit of resistance was shown in that video where, what's his name, Sinwar chucked a stick at the drone before he got his ass blown into the next week. That was the resistance. Here's a
Yeah,
stick.
David,
I love.
let me Hamas. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Joe. What did you say?
David Moore says Israeli policy of targeting civilians. One, define a civilian in that area of operations. Kind of hard to do. And two, who does Hamas target more than anything else?
Yeah. David, I will just say this.
All the way around, buddy. All the way around.
Yeah. We've covered this, right?
Many times.
If Israel's enemy hides amongst civilians, Israel gives the civilians an opportunity to get out, but to the extent that they are contained human shields, they are not afraid to strike their enemies despite civilians in the presence of these. This is basically what you saw with southern Lebanon and Hamas last week when they were giving warnings for people to get out of the buildings because they were storing weapons in the civilian housing. If they didn't get out, then they got blown out because Israel gives a lot more opportunities for the civilians to get out than Hezbollah or Hamas does.
Or the U.S.
This is true. Well, the U.S. has its own ways of avoiding killing civilians, but
we do not. After the horrible evacuation, and claimed he was a terrorist, and he was literally a janitor.
Yeah, we do not do the things that the Israelis do. So, let's see. Let me get back into the story. Sinwar, a mastermind of the October 7th attack that triggered Gaza war, was killed during operation by Israeli soldiers in the Palestinian enclave on Wednesday, a pivotal event in the year-long conflict. Netanyahu called Sinwar's killing a milestone late on Thursday, but vowed to keep up the war, which in recent weeks expanded from fighting against Palestinian group Hamas in Gaza to an invasion of southern Lebanon and a bombardment of large swaths of the country. The interesting thing is, guys, I don't see them like invading and holding southern Lebanon. They seem to be going in, hitting Hezbollah strongholds, and then pulling back to relatively safe areas. They're not going for protracted combat operations or kind of trying to secure large areas of land. All right.
Large tracts of land.
Huge tracts of land. All right, this is Netanyahu continuing. He says, we have before us a great opportunity to stop the axis of evil and create a different future, referring to the Iran and its militant allies, Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Netanyahu's comments contrasted with Western leaders, including Joe Biden, who said Sinwar's death offered a chance for the conflict to end. It's because they're politicians and they don't, they want to nip this in the bud, right? They don't care if it's the correct time to end. They just want, some marketing. That obstacle has obviously been removed. Can't predict that means whoever replaces Sinwar will agree to a ceasefire, but it does remove what has been in recent months a chief obstacle to getting a ceasefire. Another senior diplomat working in Lebanon told Reuters he hopes Sinwar's death would end the war appeared misplaced. We had really thought that getting rid of Sinwar would be a turning point where the wars would end. Now, did getting rid of Osama bin Laden, did that end the war in Afghanistan? No, it didn't. So why would we think this would get rid of the war in Gaza? Yeah. Anyway, tracked and killed. So, I mean, we got him. This is another one of those moments. But ultimately, it's just one, one bright spot.
Well, what's funny is Israel has always been good at this. Them and the French. And ironically, they work together in this particular tactic in that area. So they've always been good at tracking down the head of the snake and smoking him when he thinks he was safe. So good stuff.
I just saw we got a super chat that I kind of missed. I want to get back to it real quick. Dernif two for $5 says, considering how hard it is to be alive at all in North Korea, their special troops must be scary AF. I don't know how good their special ops are nowadays, but there's a story from the 70s about how North Korean commandos literally ran the entire way from the DMZ all the way to Seoul and actually infiltrated basically the Korean Blue House, the equivalent to the White House. They ran the whole way. I mean, this is like a inside element, and they stayed in the woods, and they were able to avoid the police and the army the whole way down. So if you ever read about that story, it's pretty impressive. They did get them, and ultimately, those guys are harder than woodpeckers. All right. The story just kind of goes into a more broad detailing of what's been going on lately. Where do you think this is going? I mean, Joe, I'll be honest with you. I don't know where this thread with Hezbollah is going. Hezbollah seems to really have taken some big hits, and I haven't seen anything more than just kind of sporadic rockets coming out of southern Lebanon. But Israel's been going after them. Where do you think this is headed with both Hamas and Hezbollah?
I think that they're actually on a downhill slide. The reason why you're only seeing one or two is because the Israeli targeting works faster than their gun crews. So I might set up my launcher, get off one round, and as I'm reloading the second one, the counter battery comes in. So I think that's all that they've got time for because of the speed of the Israeli response and how fine tuned Israel is on dealing with this. I think that they want to generate momentum, but they just can't due to the rapidness of the Israeli response. And maybe that's the better technique, cross-border raids and everything, rather than the trading of fire that's been going on for so long.
Yeah, well, it seems to me that they're definitely on the back foot, and I think it's important for Israel to keep the pressure up at this point, right? And I think you'll see them continue to target, kind of major C2 nodes and things like that, while they also go after capabilities such as rockets and some of the other kind of units that are in larger concentrations in southern Lebanon. Watcher, I mean, where are you at on this? Oh, you're muted.
Chat.
There we go. All right, sorry, okay. I was trying to unmute you, but then I muted it again.
I don't know. Like I was saying, you and I were talking about before the show that people have been talking about the destruction of some roads and some other interesting stuff. It sounds like there's rumblings, but it doesn't sound like anything major.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Hezbollah. And Hamas.
Oh, sorry. Oh, Hezbollah and Hamas. Duh. Sorry about that. Yeah, smoked. Hilarious. Also hilarious to observe how many terrorist dick riders there are in America. Keep these people's names and numbers. They need to not be allowed to just sink back into the background after these groups are hosed.
The interesting thing is both Hezbollah and Hamas are just as bad as Al Qaeda ever was. But oh, by the way, both Hezbollah and Hamas, not only are they radical terrorists, but they also had essentially governmental control over large swaths of land within both Gaza and southern Lebanon, and they've basically perpetrated this Islamo-fascist kind of society on those folks. So I mean, so that kind of makes them worse, honestly, if in my view. So it's kind of nice to see them get a comeuppance.
Interestingly, as Kamala and the others say, we're fighting for democracy. Hezbollah and Hamas employed the same type of democracy that Kamala wants to. They took power by force and then held elections to make what they did legal, and everyone votes for them. it's very easy to vote for them when you have to pass 7 guys armed with rifles before you can cast a vote, and you have to walk past them again after they look at your vote, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing how you get 95% of the vote every time. So.
Stormy for $5 says, I'm going to post Scott's PayPal link. Everybody pitch in to get him a new mic.
You know what? I actually got the box that has my mic in it actually in the building now, so I got to just dig through and find it.
What mic did you get?
It's the same Blue Yeti one. It's just somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what I've got. I've got the Snowball, you know.
See, his is actually much nicer. The Snowball is the like super low tier version.
Yeah, it's been good enough, but I need to get a better mic. So it's definitely on the list.
Yeah, mine's like the one Watcher had here. So.
Okay. Yeah, that was a pretty nice mic.
Yeah, not bad for the budget mic category.
Yeah.
All right, gents, we ready to move to the main topic? I assume that means that we're bidding farewell to our YouTube friends.
That's right. So as of right now, there are 68 of you guys watching us on YouTube. I'm afraid to say that this will be the end of the road for you guys. Let's go around the horn real quick. Joe, going into the weekend, thoughts for our YouTube brethren?
Pay attention when they tell you things. When they warn of a very high solar storm that might take out the internet, you might want to pay attention and have alternate methods of communications. Just be thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those kind of things. I mean, they can't fake a solar storm, but at the same time, they can definitely coordinate human events to be blamed on a solar storm. I'm just saying, you know. All right, Watcher.
Yes. To our YouTube friends, we love you all. Get off of YouTube.
That's right. If you guys could throw the Stormy or any of the other mods, if you could throw the link to Rumble over in the chat, then we will say goodnight. You know, guys, the thing for me is that there's so much kind of going on, whether it's Russia, whether it's China, or whether it's the stuff in the Middle East. You know, if any of this had happened in the last 15 years, it would be like literally the biggest thing and everybody would be focusing on it. But now that it's happening so much and so often, you know, the war in Ukraine for the last, going on 3 years now. The China stuff has been slow boil since the teens. I mean, it's almost like we're getting dead to this stuff. So my recommendation is don't get complacent. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world. But make sure you're keeping your eyes and ears close to the ground, because ultimately, you know, being forewarned is, you know, is a key thing to being prepared. So
yeah, nothing ever happens right up until it does.
Exactly right. Like it's all very slowly, then all of a sudden. All right, All right, there's the link. It's in the chat. So we're going to move on over to Rumble. Thank you guys very much. If you haven't done it already, please like the video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, all that whatnot. And we'll see you over at Bongino's.
2, 0, 1.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone.
3, 6, 4, 6.
The chair is against the wall.
3, 6.
The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache.
8, 2, 5.
John has a long mustache.
8, 2, 5.
It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.